Hi, I'm Ryan Christopher Lee. I am part of the cast of Funny Bōnz, the Humorous Solution, premiering this August at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. If you are excited to learn more about this wonderful performance, please enjoy this lovely conversation. I fell in love with theater very early on in my life. I actually started theater when I was 5 years old. I'm 22 now, so it's been a very long journey. But yeah, I think what's interesting is, when I fell in love with theater, I didn't really know what it was. I think when I fell in love with it, it was just kind of the thing that you did when you were 5 years old. You played pretend, and you had fun, and you just kind of put on a character. And I knew that I loved it. I knew it was something that was just really fun. But I think at the time I didn't really realize that it was a viable option for doing it past just being a kid. I joined my first musical when I was 5. I was in Schoolhouse Rock. And I was just an adjective. I just walked on stage with, like, I think I was dusty or something was my adjective. And I just knew it was a lot of fun. And I did a lot of different shows from that day on. I was Tiny Tim and Christmas Carol and all this stuff. And so that's when I think I kind of started to fall in love with it. But it wasn't until around middle school that I really was like, it was just kind of a hobby up until then. And then until middle school, that's when I was kind of like, wow, I really like this as like a craft. It's not just like a fun activity anymore. Like, this is something I really enjoy doing, and I want to learn more, and I want to understand more of what it is. And that's kind of when I started taking my acting classes and learning more about, oh, there's so much more than just getting upstage. It can still be fun, but there can be some like craft to how fun it is. And so I knew I wanted to be part of kind of the theater world when I was probably around middle school, after being exposed to it as a child. But yeah, I definitely knew that I wanted to be a part of it because it was just this wonderful mix of play and having fun, but also just this really cool process of learning what it's like, how it is to play someone else or play something else, and get to tell a story. I mean, that's when it really kind of became a mission for me. It kind of became like a higher kind of like a higher calling of it's more than just having fun, but it's more, you can really impact lives with theater, and you can really express stories and represent people. And it wasn't really until around like middle school, high school, that I realized, like, wow, this can really be life-changing for people, and this can really emphasize greater issues. They can make people laugh, and make people cry, and make people feel something. And so I would say probably around middle school is when I really started to fall deeply in love with the craft of it, beyond just having fun and playing pretend. So yeah. I believe the theater experience is incredibly unique and so different from other art forms because, and this is something I've always said, is, if you look at like a painting, that is someone's interpretation of life expressed through, a picture, or photography, someone's interpretation of life through a still image. But what I think is great about theater is it's an interpretation of life that it is life. Like they show you, we physically go up there and we show you a person's life. We show you a person's story. And I think that's why theater is so unique, because it really is, you can watch in real time emotions. You can watch in real time the funny parts of life. Comedies, it's a great thing about comedies too, is like life is also very funny. And so I think that's what's so unique about theater is it's really an experience like no other, because I think it's really something that when the audience is just as important as the people who are on stage and the people who are doing the art form. I believe that, you could make a film and put it out, and people could watch it, or you could paint a painting and put it up, but you're not super affected by it in real time. You make a film and you put it out, you paint a painting, you put it up, or you take a picture and you put it online, things like that. In theater, we are affected in real time. I mean, we need that. And if there's anything we've seen from the last year, that's so important. In theater, it's there, it's live, it's everything is happening right in front of you. And we, as performers in theater, we can't necessarily perform it to our fullest extent, at least a comedy or a drama, unless we are feeling what the audience is feeling there with us in the moment. And I think that's just something that's so special about theater as well, is it's so inclusive of the audience. It's so reliant on the audience, and there's very few other forms of artistic expression where the consumers of it, or the audience for it, is so incredibly active and is so incredibly participatory and needed in that experience. And so I think that's what's great about theater is, we can't do it without them. We can't do it without you when you're an audience member. I think like I said, if there's anything we've learned from the past year, that experience is so unmatched, of being in a room and watching theater on the stage, and getting to come out and bow and hear clapping, and getting to talk to people after the show. There's such a bonding experience in theater that I think is so different from other art forms, other types of performance, for sure. I fell in love with sketch comedy probably around middle school. I started in improv. That was kind of where I began. I completely fell into it. By that time, I was just acting for fun. I had an agent, so I was going out to LA every once in a while and auditioning for stuff. And I had auditioned for a few kind of sketch comedy shows. Again, as a kid, I went out for a lot of Disney and Nickelodeon stuff. And there's a few like Disney, Nickelodeon sketch comedy things. I didn't really know what it was. They were always just like come in and have characters. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to go in and I don't know, just try to make people up that I know. But I didn't quite know what it was. And then what I think really piqued my interest around middle school was I loved watching YouTube sketch comedy. I thought that was just so funny. The way that people were able to do that and make funny characters and make little vignettes. I loved it because I was like, this is storytelling, but it's so simple. And there's, and sometimes I love stuff that is deep and raw and has like a very like heavy message. But I'm like, sketch comedy is great because it's just these quick little funny things of just like, it just brings joy for like 2 to 3 minutes. And I thought that was so great, and so I started watching YouTube videos like that. And then once I started doing improv around middle school time, I really started, I performed at Second City for a little while. I performed at Second City, Hollywood for a summer in high school. And again, just doing improv because I love improv. But I watched a sketch comedy show there, and immediately I fell in love with it. And I was like, this is so fun and interesting because I loved improv and I loved theater. And I was like, this is the same thing in just a very fun, quick format. It was the best of both worlds. You could tell a story, you could play a character, but you can also in the kind of the rapid fire of improv still just have it's just like this beautiful burst of just fun, just this burst of joy. And so I became really obsessed with it. And in all formats, I liked making YouTube sketches, but I loved performing on stage and doing sketches. And that's also around the time I really got into SNL. I'm sure everyone really loves SNL. And I didn't necessarily grow up with it as a kid, but once I really started liking sketch comedy, I started watching a lot more SNL. And so it was probably around, again, like middle school, high school is when I really started to to realize how just like how fun it was. And yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing quite like sketch comedy. There's nothing quite like comedy in general, because it's such a great icebreaker. Again, it's one of those things where the audience is so active. I mean, you can't do sketch comedy without laughter. You know, the laughter fuels. I mean, the laughter fuels what you do up there. And if you're not hearing anything, you know, it could drastically change what you're doing up there. And so, you know, with sketch comedy, I mean, it's another one of those things where, yeah, the audience is just so important. It's super important. We need the laughter. We need people there. We need the feedback. And so, yeah, that's probably around the time I fell in love with it. And kind of the mission of comedy overall, of just making people laugh, bringing some joy, and yeah, just having fun. The sketch comedy format is so unique because it's like compacted theater. It's telling a story. It's expressing a tale, but in such a small packaged amount of time. And it's incredibly unique because it's an art form that I think doesn't. It's probably the easiest way to creatively express yourself, and that's how I feel. You know, for me, I love writing, and I love creating things. And you know, if you're like writing a feature film or writing a play or writing a, you know, anything, like as great and fun as those are, it takes a long time. If you're writing a feature film, it takes a long time if you're writing a play, you know, and you have to think about all of these different story arcs, all these different character changes. What's fun about sketch comedy is like a great way, especially if you're a creator and you just want to make something, you just want to do something. It's so quick, it's so easy, but it's still so rewarding. It's a way to creatively express yourself. And again, I think what is the root of comedy is just having fun and including people in something. You know, I think with drama, and you can really affect people. You can really affect people, and can change people's lives totally with drama. I think what's great about comedy is you can just connect with people immediately. I mean, there's no better icebreaker than a joke. Even if you're not performing, like if you're just talking to people, right? You meet someone, you make a joke, you guys laugh. That's a great start to just a connection with a person. So with sketch comedy and comedy in general, it's a great way to break the ice. It's a great way to just connect with people and start a conversation. And so what's great about sketch comedy, I think, is it's quick, it's easy, it's digestible, you know, and there's so many ways to go about it. Like, you could have a laugh out loud comedy sketch, or you could have something that's, you can do different genres. I've seen so many different sketch comedies that are like, but it makes fun of certain genres. Like it's in an action style, or it's in like a horror style, but it's still comedy, it's still sketch comedy. I think, yeah, that's another great thing about sketch comedy, is it's not really confined to the comedy genre. You can make fun of everything in different ways through sketch comedy. It's still a sketch. I think a great example is the show Key and Peele. They are a sketch comedy show, but man, do they do a million different genres on there. One time they're vampires, one time they're doing Les Mis, one time they're football players, one time it's shot like a very serious drama film. And so, I think there's just so many places you can go with sketch comedy. And I think that's what makes it different, is like, it's really not, you can't be labeled very easily. It's not very easily confinable to one thing. And so I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is I think it never ends. There's never really an end to sketch comedy, because people continue to innovate different ways to use it. I'd say my process for creating a sketch comedy skit is to kind of think about why. I think I typically just ask myself a very simple question of like, okay, well, why is this funny? Is this funny because I think it's funny? Or is this funny because it's something we can all laugh at? It's a person that we all know. It's a situation we're all used to. And this is something I learned from doing stand-up as well. You know, something that's funny within your group of friends, it might not be funny on stage in front of strangers. And that's something you have to think about, especially with doing sketch. And so the first thing I kind of think about is like, all right, well, am I just finding this funny because this is very much my sense of humor, and just something that is very individual? Or is this funny because, wow, like people know a guy like that, or people have been in a situation like that, or people can relate to that, maybe not exactly, but in a certain way. And I think as much as sketch comedies don't have to be completely relatable, not in the kind of strict sense of relatable, I think that is definitely key to sketch comedy is even if you're doing something with the genres, even if you're doing something that's just like a little story played out in front of people, most of the time when sketch comedy is really hit a home run, it's when the people are like, oh my gosh, like I've totally seen something like that, or like, especially if you're making fun of a genre, they're like, that's totally how that genre goes, or like that's totally how they do it in that way, or oh my gosh, the way that guy did that, like that's what my friend did, or like I've done that, or that's totally how they do it. It's satire. I think that's very much a key to it, is satire, looking at the world and expressing it in a creatively fun way. And so that's usually my process, is to kind of think about like, well, how can this kind of play into the bigger world around me? And then I kind of just play it out. I write it out just kind of as is, just kind of as it flows out of my mind. And then I get some of my friends, some of my funny friends, and we read it around together and get great feedback. And that's another great thing too about the comedy community, is it's so bonding. It's so collaborative. That's what I learned from doing improv as well, is like you need each other. You need each other. You need other people. And so I would say that's another part of my process, definitely, is comedy is not a singular thing. Like you need other people's feedback. When you're doing stand-up, you need to know whether the jokes work. So you need to run it by your friends who are also comedians, or just other people. You need to run it on stage. With you doing improv, you physically need other people on stage with you, because improv is a team activity. For sketch comedy, you have several characters, so you need people who are in it who are just as committed to it as you are. So I'd say that's another very important part of the process, is to forget, like, hey, look, even though this is not to forget, hey, this is my sketch that I wrote, but I need to hear feedback. I need to be open to feedback. I need to know whether a joke works or not. And that's important with not just comedy, but creating anything, is being open to other interpretations, being open to other criticisms. And you can choose to take them or not, but you need to be open to, if these are the people that, are going to help you, or the people who might be watching it. I think it's important, as much as it is your vision. In the end of the day, it's very important to collaborate and be open to other ideas. I was actually not aware of the P3 Theater Company prior to this experience with Funny Bōnz. I was on a Facebook page that had talked about different auditions, and I saw this come up, and it was a musical sketch comedy thing. And that's a lot of my background, is in musical theater and musical comedy and all that stuff. And so I was just really excited. I didn't even know what Funny Bōnz was. At that point, I kind of just sent in a tape, just because I was like, this seems fun. And then once I heard back and went through the audition process, and then I got the job, I watched the virtual show. I looked up more about P3, and they're just amazing. I mean, I got to meet with John, who's an artistic director, and they're just so nice, such a great family. And yeah, definitely just very supportive of new talent and new people, and so accommodating of other schedules and things like that. This wasn't an easy process to pull off. A lot of our rehearsal process was over Zoom, and John and the P3 team really worked around my schedule, and worked around a lot of people's schedule. And I'll never forget this. He said such a great reasoning for it, which is, he was like, it's as tough as it is to work around everyone's schedule. I'm just glad you guys are getting work. I'm just glad you guys are having things to do. And that's a wonderful attitude to have, and such a great representation of how amazing they are, because there's so many, and I've experienced it, so many theater companies that are so like, if you are not making this your number one, you have to do this, you have to do that. And as important as commitment is, sometimes there's life, sometimes there's jobs, and oftentimes theater doesn't necessarily pay the bills, so there's a lot of other things that we have to focus on. And so to have John and P3 be so understanding of that and be like, hey, look, we'll work around it, we'll figure it out. We're just glad you guys are working, we're just glad you have things to do. And taking the pandemic really and using it in terms of and of thinking of things productively. They didn't think about, never once did John or anyone from P3 express a negative, oh gosh, 2020 sucked, or like, oh, theater is never going to be the same since then, and like in a negative light. I mean, even look at the show, it's called Funny Bōnz, the Humerus Solution. It's about solving our problems by being together and laughing and having fun. And that was always the attitude from the outset. From once I started working with them, there was just such a positive atmosphere and such a compassionate atmosphere, which is, I mean, dare I say it, uncommon sometimes in the theater world. And so it was extremely refreshing to work with a team that was understanding of that. And it just makes it a better place to work, better space to work in when you're cared for, in that way, and you're understood. And so that's, nothing but great things to say about John and everyone at P3. They've done a fantastic job coordinating the show. And I'm excited to work with them on this and any future projects they do. Absolutely. The new Funny Bōnz group is all about laughter. It's all about, what's so interesting is this is an iteration of the show that they did in 2020. So during 2020, they did a virtual production of Funny Bōnz. And it was all virtual. They were, I mean, it's beautiful. They were on a virtual stage performing all these amazing songs, these amazing sketches. And it was during its time in 2020 where they were just trying to make people feel happy. They were just trying to do something fun. And that was really what it was. The Funny Bōnz, the humorous solution of laughter. And I think that's what's kind of funny about the title is maybe we don't need to come up with a solution right now of all these things. Maybe we don't have all the answers, but let's just have fun for a little bit. Sometimes things are just hard. So the solution for us is let's have some fun. Let's try to feel some joy again through just simple comedy, simple songs, and things the pure joys in life like that. And so that first production of Funny Bōnz was a time during 2020 where people got to see some really funny songs and some really, really great works of art. And what's cool about this production and what this group of Funny Bōnz is about is we're doing some of the same songs, but we're doing a lot of also very new and different songs that weren't in the original virtual production. And it's really cool because, people get to see that new stuff. But for the people who watch the virtual production, who watch this one, they get to see it live because we're doing this one live and in person. I would say that's a difference. It's the Funny Bōnz that is coming out of this pandemic, which in turn makes it just a different show. You'll get to hear and see those songs live with a live audience laughing, and you'll get to experience kind of the intent of Funny Bōnz, which was to bring us together, but you'll get to experience it in a much more real way. Whereas the first Funny Bōnz was kind of about, let's try to feel, let's feel connected as much as we can through these screens during this time. Whereas now it's like, we're finally together. We did it. Let's sing these songs again. Let's have some laughs again now that we're together in person. So it's a wonderful context to come into with this Funny Bōnz because it's coming out of this, and it's a way for us to just get back together and say like, hey, we missed you, especially to I mean, I haven't performed in front of a live audience in such a long time. And I can't wait to be up on stage. And that's really what we're kind of going for and kind of trying to say is like, we miss you. We missed this. And so I think that's what's great about this group in particular and this show in particular is everyone that's in it is, is 10 times more appreciative of the opportunity to be in it than if it was just another show we were doing and nothing had ever happened, knowing that this is a show that's coming out of a time where we didn't get to do a lot of this. It's a unique group and it's a unique time to be performing. And so I'm stoked, and I think people are going to really love what we put together. I'm really looking forward to the Hollywood Fringe Festival. I had not heard of it. Even while I was casting this show, I didn't really, I joined the show because I thought it would be fun. And then I found out it was going to be a part of the Fringe Festival. And for me, I haven't done a ton of theater outside of just community theater or theater at my school or things like that. And so I hadn't really been privy to a lot of the different festivals and the different kind of avenues for expressing theater and performing it. And but after I found out we were going to be in the Hollywood Fringe Festival, I was super stoked because I was like, that sounds awesome. And I looked it up more and I was like, wow, this is really cool that we get to be a part of this kind of thing. And then hearing that this was like the premiere of it, it was, my first reaction was one of definitely nerves of like, oh, wow, I'm in the premiere. Like this is where it's being premiered live and in person, and it's in LA and it's at this very, very well-known theater festival. So I had not quite heard of it before I was cast in this. But it's a huge honor to be a part of it. And I'm super stoked that I get to be in the, premiere of the live in-person version of this show. And I don't think there's a better place to do it than at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. And yes, I'm very excited to be a part of introducing this show to people and just really kind of expressing all the really fun stuff we've been working on. So I think it'll be a really great time. I hope that the audience takes from our show just laughter and joy and just a sense of, wow, it's good to be back. This has been definitely for me, my first time back doing a live theater thing in a very long time, and could definitely, I would say, is probably going to be the first time being back to live theater for a lot of people in the audience. So I hope everyone just walks away with like, gosh, I missed that. And wow, that was fun, and there's just so much, there's so much to be, there, let's be honest, there's a lot of things to be negative about in terms of thinking about things within the world and problems and life and all that stuff, and that Funny Bōnz is really just a time to escape and really just a time to have fun. And for a couple hours, just laugh, just smile, just feel joy. And I hope that's what people walk away with. It was just like, that was fun. I missed that. That was great. And just walking away with a deep appreciation for comedy, for theater, for creative expression, and just for joy in general. I just kind of feel joy again. And, I think that's one thing that was missing. I've been talking about it a lot, but one thing that was just missing for so long during 2020 was just like the ability to share our experiences and the ability to just experience the comfort of other people. And that's something that I think Funny Bōnz really emphasizes, just like, hey, we're all together. Like, let's just have some fun. Let's just listen to some funny songs. Let's just watch a funny show. Let's just laugh. Let's just smile. And it's just as simple as that. And I think that is what we all need right now, is something as simple as that. As just being with friends, being with people, and laughing and having a good time. So that's what I hope audience gets out of our show. I'm looking forward to seeing how people react to the songs and pieces of work that we've been working on these past few months. I think that's I think I'm most excited about, and that's why I think, again, live audiences are so important, is because I think the stuff that we're doing is hilarious. And I think that everyone's doing such a great job. But I want to see what everyone else thinks. I want to see everyone else, you know, and it's cool to be kind of working on all this fun stuff and being like, oh my gosh, wow, like I want to show this to people. Like, I can't wait for people to see this. This is so funny. And so that's kind of the anticipation I'm feeling. It's like, oh man, oh man, I can't wait to say that on stage. I can't wait to see how people react when I say that, when I sing this song, when I do this, you know. And so that's the anticipation for me is I'm just excited for the audience to see it, and I'm excited to hear what they'll have to say, and and I'm excited for them to laugh at it just as much as I do. I'd say within the whole Hollywood Fringe Festival, I'm really just looking forward to this experience. I mean, again, I've not done much theater outside of just doing community theater, outside of doing theater at my school and college, and so I've not been a part of the LA theater scene, or I've not been a part of the festival kind of theater circuit. And so that's what I mean for me personally. I'm excited to meet other theater artists. And I'm excited to meet them in a time where they've been kind of starved for this kind of thing, where we haven't been doing this very much. I'm excited to meet them in a time where they're all going to be excited to be back. And so that's one thing I'm excited about, is to grow more in the community and meet more people in the community and make those connections with new people. And hopefully while I'm out there, when I'm not performing at Funny Bōnz, I'd love to catch other shows as well, performing within the Hollywood Fringe Festival. So yeah, I would say meeting new people and being a part of a new experience for myself is what I'm most looking forward to. I believe people should watch this show either in streaming or in person, because it's so true. It's so real. And you know, that's odd to say about a sketch comedy thing, but you know, when we're up there, there's more than just like, oh, this is a funny song. Like, it's true joy. And it's being performed, like I said, by theater artists who are so excited to be back. And this is a very unique time for theater. You know, any theater post 2020, you are going to see theater artists who are in love with being on stage again, regardless of what the work is. You're going to see a person up there who hasn't gotten to do this for a long time. And specifically with Funny Bōnz, a show about feeling togetherness again and laughing again. But it performed in such a real context of, we're so excited to be back doing this. Whether you watch it through streaming or in person, it is a nuanced performance of people who are just stoked to be back and who are stoked to be doing what they love again. So I would say this show is definitely something you shouldn't miss, because it's a wonderful time to be watching theater during a time where people have such a deeper appreciation for it. I can say for myself personally, I took it for granted. I was doing theater so much that it just became the norm. I did a show on the weekend, and I went home and I did another show, and it was so autopilot. But oh my gosh, coming back and doing this again after not doing it for so long. I mean, I know that I'm not alone in feeling like, wow, gosh, we missed this so much. I never realized how important this was. I never stopped and thought about, wow, look at what I'm doing. Like, what if I didn't get to do this anymore? You know, no one ever really thought about that when they were doing theater pre-2020. No one really thought about, what if I never got to do this again? Like, what if there was a time where this was the most dangerous thing to be doing? No one ever thought about that. And then it happened, where there was a time where this was the most dangerous thing to be doing. And, but we're now back. We're getting back, and definitely in a space that is safe now, and is following protocols. And my goodness, we are so excited. And so I think that's why this is a not miss show, especially if you're watching it in person, but even more so also if you're watching it online. You get to watch theater artists thrive in their natural habitat. And probably the happiest we've ever been, to just be so happy to be back. And I think that along with our show, with a lot of theater coming up, it's going to be a great time to see true joy on the faces of the performers. That's not fake. That's not acted. That's people falling in love again with the thing that they love. I think that's the number one reason why people should watch this show regardless. My hopes for the future of this group, I hope we all, I mean, whether or not we do a specific iteration of Funny Bōnz again, I do hope, I mean, everyone's so funny, and you'll see in the show, everyone is so nuanced. Everyone has their own, not one performer is the same as another performer. Everyone has their own style of what they bring to the stage. And so I'd say for the future of the group, I hope we can just keep making stuff together. Like I said, whether that be Funny Bōnz or not, I think I'm just excited to see what we all do, whether separately or together. I would love to work with these people again, in a comedy context, maybe in a dramatic context. But yeah, I mean, I love just working with other artists, and the artists that are in this are just phenomenal and super funny and super cool. And so I'd say for the future of the group, I would say just keep an eye out for all of us. We're all going to be doing, whether we're doing stuff together again, in terms of another comedy thing or another Funny Bōnz thing, or whether we're doing something separate. I would just say this show exposes people to a lot of great talent, a lot of different, diverse talent. And so I would say just keep an eye out for all of us, because we've all got such different styles, and we've all got such different ways of performance. And so I would say what I'm excited about for the future of the group, whether together or separately, is I know that we've all got such different creative endeavors. Some of us work at Knott's Berry Farm doing some stuff. Some of us have one of us has an acoustic duo, and so we've all got different cool creative things we got going on. So I would say the most exciting thing about the future of the group is that this isn't the end of it. We've got so much more to do, and so much more art to give. So I would say this is a great platform to expose people to new artists. So yeah, I would say that's something that I'm excited about for this group. And yeah, just kind of the different things that we'll do in the future. I would say like theaters like P3 are so important because as I've said, P3 Theater Company truly cares about the performers and the audience and the experience, the theater experience. And that is so important because in a world that is so centered around binge watching and social media and a lot, which as great as that stuff is, there is nothing quite like live theater. There is nothing like watching something on a stage unfold right in front of you. And that is an unmatched experience if there's anything we've learned. And so I think P3, theaters like P3 are so important because they understand that, and they fight like heck to protect it, and to be able to keep doing it. And so it's so important to support those theaters. It's so important to keep it alive because it is an art form that even before 2020 was already sort of on its way to a lesser extent. And so I think it's so important now more than ever to support live theaters like P3, those that are fighting for the theater experience and those that are fighting for this form of expression. So I think it's incredibly important because it is an art form that is unlike no other, and it is a joy unlike no other when you go out and watch a live show. And so I think it's incredibly important to support theaters that are working to keep this experience alive, are working to do it in a safe way, which is what P3 has done with bringing this show back. And so it's important definitely to support those kind of efforts. And and just it's such a great community. I mean, of artists and of people who love storytelling. So I think that it's incredibly important to support them. I would just say, please come watch Funny Bōnz and Humerus Solution at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. It's a labor of love. It's a lot of fun, and it's put on by people who are so excited to have you there and can never fully express how excited we are to have you there. So yes, please just come watch the show, come support us, and come support live theater, come support just go see a show. I would say ours is a great one. You should totally come watch our show. But I would just in general encourage people to get back out there and watch theater and watch live performances. I mean, we miss it. We're glad to be back. So yeah, and I would say please come watch our show. But in general, go watch a show. Go have a great time and have a night out. Go have some fun and watch something live. Watch an art form that is unlike no other, that unfolds right in front of you. Yeah, come watch Funny Bōnz. If you want to learn more about how you can watch Funny Bōnz and more about P3 in general, go check out the P3 Theater Company website, and we are looking forward to seeing you there.